Hi everyone, Peter here from Movement and Performance, and in this presentation I'm going to be covering the general training design of an individual speed training session and how this can help optimize athletic performance. So the first thing we need to get into is what the purpose of the session is. So basically, what are we going to work on in the session? What's our goal? Are we working on linear speed qualities, so things running in a straight line, so acceleration, maximum velocity, speed endurance, those sort of qualities? Or are we working on multi-directional speed qualities, so change of direction and agility? Or are we going to combine certain elements of linear speed training in one session? Or are we going to have some linear speed training and then some multi-directional speed training? So we firstly need to establish what what the purpose of the session is and what our goals are, what we're trying to work on. And then once we have that established, we basically have this general session structure that's going to be pretty much the same for whatever the speed training quality you're trying to work on is. So this is a really general structure. So essentially the first thing we want to do is do a good warm-up, and you can see the video on this channel, how to warm up for peak performance. If you want to go into detail on that, we're not going to go through that in this presentation, but you can have a look at that video. And then the next thing we want to do is maybe some technical drills. So some things that can help emphasize certain technical elements of what we're working on. Again, this has to be specific to what our purpose of the session is. So things like marches, switches, and skips, things like that are going to work on specific elements that are going to be used then later when we actually do the main speed training. So when we get into the actual main speed training session, that's when we want to work at 100%, and that's going to be the main focus of the session when we're actually going to get the adaptations. So in general, we sort of want 1 to 3 exercises, not really any more than 3 exercises because the quality will start going down. And we want very low volumes, or could be moderate volumes depending on your focus. But the thing is we want high intensity all the time, very high intensity, because you don't build speed linear or multi-directional in a fatigue state. You build it from being really fresh and performing at extremely high intensities, and that's why we want to keep the volume low so we don't reduce the quality. And then after the speed training, that's when we'll do our strength or power training. And we're not going to go through exactly what we're going to do in our strength and power training sessions, but I'm going to give some examples of this. But I have plenty of videos on strength and power on this YouTube channel, which you can check out. So essentially, if we have a look at this chart, warm-up, technical drill, speed training, and then our strength and power training. The reason we want our speed training before our strength and power training is because any fatigue is going to reduce speed pretty much, whereas speed training is probably not going to produce much fatigue that's going to impact our strength and power training, but our strength and power training will definitely impact our speed training. So example 1 is linear speed day. So we're going to be working on acceleration and maximum velocity, for example, in this session. So basically we'll do our warm-up, again, see the video if you want. Our technical drills, so we might have something like wall switches and mid switches. So wall switches are on the strength and conditioning exercise library on this channel if you want to check it out. And so are mid switches, but essentially these are linear running drills, so wall switches will work more on the acceleration positions, whereas mid switches are going to work on that maximum velocity upright posture. Then we're getting into our main speed training. We'll have something like a flying sprint, only about 3 sets of 20 meters build-in plus 20 meter fly for our maximum velocity work. Only 3 reps, that's all you need, with full recovery between. And then some sled pulls, only about 3 sets of 10 meters, something like that, to work on that acceleration. And that's pretty much all you need for the main session. You'll get adaptation from that. If you start doing more exercise and more sets and more reps, you're going to induce fatigue, and then the quality will go down. Then when we move on to our strength and power training, some examples could be something like a drop jump to work on that. sort of plyometrics, the fast ground contacts for the maximum velocity, and then something like a split squat to work on single leg strength for the acceleration. So the next example is multi-directional speed. So let's say, for example, in this training session, I'm going to be working on change of direction and reactive agility. So I'm going to work on both. So again, same thing, we want to warm up, again, see the video. And then technical drills, we might have something like a single leg jump and stick, which is basically jumping on one leg and then landing on one leg and holding that. And that's going to emphasize really that plant and push that we want basically with any sort of change of direction movement. So that's a good technical drill to start with. And it can get them primed for the actual speed training session. So in terms of the actual speed training, we got 2 exercises again. The first one could be a T drill, which is essentially cones set up in a T, and you basically go up, left, right, and then back to the middle and back to the start. So you might do 2 of them each side since you're going a different way each time. So you don't want to be going the same side each time. So we might have 2 each side. So that's only 4 reps total, and then 3 sets of some sort of 3-way reactive agility. So something where you run and you have basically 3 decisions to make, and a coach or a teammate will point to a side or call out a side or do something like that, and that way you have to react and also change direction as fast as you can. Something like that, low volume, keep the quality extremely high. There's no point doing this in a fatigue state. And then moving on to the power training, we got something like rotational throws, which is going to work on more on that getting out of that sort of just linear plane, so something in a different plane. It's also going to provide a power stimulus, an explosive power stimulus, and then something like lateral jumps. So again, going lateral as opposed to just front and back all the time. That's it for this presentation, guys. Hopefully you got something out of it. You can follow Movement and Performance on Facebook and on Instagram. And then if you haven't already, you can subscribe on YouTube to stay up to date with the latest informative videos. So on Facebook and Instagram, you'll find these research infographics, which are essentially the latest research that's summarized into these easy to understand graphics, as you can see here. So basically you can stay up to date with the latest research without actually having to go into the actual research papers, and it also makes it easy to understand to people without a particular scientific background. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you got something out of this video.